If you are 65 or older, you probably paid a bill last month you do not legally owe. 5 of them, actually. Start with property tax. The average American bill is $4,427 a year, and there is a senior exemption that can cut it. Nobody sends it. Most people never filed the form. Not $400, not $1,400, $4,427 every year on a house you already own. This is for you if you get a Social Security check. It is for you if you own your home. It is for you if you still file a tax return every spring. And it is for you if you fill a prescription every month. There are 5 of these. I am going to give you all 5 in plain English, and I am going to tell you on every one exactly which kind of person it helps the most, so nobody has to guess whether it applies to them. 3 things before we start. One of these 5 you have almost certainly been eligible for since you were 62, and I would bet nobody told you then either. There is one word that shows up on a county tax bill that decides whether you save money or quietly put your house at risk, and I will show you that word. And these 5 do not get filed in any old order. There is one that goes first, for a reason that costs people real money when they get it backwards. By the end of this you will know what the 5 are, which ones apply to you, what each one is actually called on paper, and which office it goes to. The order is at the end, and it is the part I would want my own neighbor to hear. Before the first one, I want to close 4 doors, because in my experience this is where most people quietly decide a video like this is not about them. The first one is comfort. People think this is only for retirees who are struggling. That is backwards. Some of these 5 are worth the most to somebody sitting on a paid-off house that tripled in value because the bill scales with the house. The second is the opposite. People think it is only for the wealthy, with estates and advisors and complicated paperwork. Also wrong. 2 of the 5 are worth the most to somebody living almost entirely on a Social Security check. The third one I hear constantly. My house is paid off, so the tax does not really hurt. It does. It is the largest recurring bill you will ever pay on something you already own outright, and the county does not care that the mortgage is gone. They send it anyway. And the fourth is renting. If you rent, you are thinking this is not your video. Your landlord pays that property tax and passes it to you inside your rent every single month. When that bill drops, your rent stops climbing the way it has been. So all 4 doors are shut. This is for everyone watching. Here is the honest reason nobody tells you about these. Every one of these 5 is administered by an office that is measured on what it collects, or funded by it directly. Your county assessor's office runs on property tax revenue. Every dollar of exemption it grants is a dollar that office does not get to spend next year. I am not telling you there is a conspiracy. There is not. There is just no one whose job it is to call you. The assessor does not mail the senior application on your 65th birthday. The mortgage servicer does not flag it on your statement. The person who sold you the house is long gone. The rule is that every one of these is opt-in. Being legally exempt from a bill and actually not paying it are 2 completely different things, and only a filed form moves you from one to the other. Take Gene, 69, widowed, still in the house he and his wife bought in 1984. He is careful with money. He pays his property tax the week it arrives, the way he has for 40 years. Gene has qualified for his county's senior exemption since the year he turned 65, 4 years. Nobody wrote to him and he never asked because it did not occur to him that there was anything to ask about. He is not careless. He was never told. Run the arithmetic on Gene. His bill is a little over $4,000 a year. His county's senior exemption would have taken roughly a quarter of that off. Call it $1,000 a year, 4 years running. That is $4,000, real money to a widower on one Social Security check, sitting in a form at the county office he has never seen. And I want to be careful here because Gene did nothing wrong. There was no letter to ignore, and no deadline he missed. The system simply waited to be asked. So here they are. Number 1 is the property tax exemption, and it is first because it is the biggest number on the list. That $4,427 average is a national figure, and it went up more than 3% this year alone. Most states and counties offer people over 65 some version of this: an exemption, a freeze on the assessed value, or a limit on how far it can rise in a year. It is county paperwork, not federal, so the name changes as you cross a state line. Who it helps most? Anybody who owns their home. Most of all, anybody whose house has gained a lot of value since they bought it, because the bill scaled up with the house, and the income usually did not. This is Gene's 1. Number 2 is the tax return itself, not the tax, the filing. At 65, the income threshold at which you are required to file a federal return goes up. For the 2025 return, a single filer over 65 did not have to file below $17,750 of gross income. A married couple, both over 65, $34,700. Those numbers rise a little each year. A lot of people on a Social Security check and a small draw are underneath that line and have been paying somebody to tell them so every spring. Who it helps most? Anybody living mostly on Social Security. Number 3 is your state's tax on your Social Security. 42 states do not touch it at all. 8 still do, and they are Colorado, Connecticut, Minnesota, Montana, New Mexico, Rhode Island, Utah, and Vermont. Even inside those 8, there are age doors. In Colorado, once you are 65, you can deduct all of your federally taxed Social Security. In Montana, being 65 gets you a $5,500 subtraction. And West Virginia, Kansas, Nebraska, and Missouri have all finished phasing theirs out entirely in recent years. Who it helps most? Anybody who assumed their state follows the federal rule, because most of them do not, and 4 states have changed the answer inside 3 years. Number 4 is the one I promised you at the top. Every entrance fee at every federal recreation site in the country. National parks, national forests, wildlife refuges, Bureau of Land Management land, Bureau of Reclamation sites, and Army Corps of Engineers sites. 6 agencies. The pass is called America the Beautiful, and the senior version is $20 a year or $80 for the rest of your life. It also takes half off some camping and boat launch fees. And here is the part I said I would come back to. Eligibility starts at 62, not 65. If you are 70 today, that is 8 years of gate fees you paid because nobody mentioned it. Who it helps most? Anybody who travels, and anybody with grandchildren in the car. Number 5 is prescriptions. Medicare Part D now has a hard ceiling on what you pay out of pocket in a year. For 2026, that ceiling is $2,100. Once you hit it, your covered drug costs for the rest of that calendar year are $0. Who it helps most? Anybody on an expensive maintenance drug, and especially anybody who has been quietly skipping refills near the end of the year to make the money last. Now the word I promised you, because this is where people get hurt. You will see 4 different words used on county paperwork as if they mean the same thing. They do not. Exempt means the bill goes away, or a chunk of it does. Reduced means the bill is smaller, and how much smaller usually depends on your income. Frozen means the assessed value stops rising, so the bill does not go away but it stops growing. And deferred means the county lets you not pay it now and puts a lien on your house for the amount, and your family settles it later. Those last 2 are still good options for a lot of people. But a deferral is a debt against your home, and it should never be signed by somebody who thinks they are getting a discount. This is the beat I would most want Gene to hear, because a man who has paid every bill on time for 40 years is exactly the man who signs the paper the clerk hands him. Read which of those 4 words is printed on it. If it says deferral, that is a decision about the house, and it belongs in a conversation with his family, not at a counter on a Tuesday morning. Which brings me to the one thing I would ask you not to do. Do not stop paying a bill because you believe you are exempt from it. Being eligible and being approved are not the same thing, and an unpaid property tax bill is one of the few debts in this country that can cost somebody their house. File the form, wait for the letter that says approved, then pay whatever the new number is. That is the whole difference between this working and this going badly wrong. There is a second thing happening, and it changes what some of you should do next year. 3 states are voting on senior property tax measures this November. Louisiana has a constitutional amendment that would let parishes add an exemption for homeowners over 65, and if it passes, it starts in 2028. Oklahoma is voting on changes to its senior valuation limit, which would begin in 2027. Florida is voting on a much larger homestead exemption that would phase in across 2027 and 2028. None of those are law today. All 3 are on a ballot. I am telling you because if you live in one of those 3 states, what you file this year and what you file in 2 years may be different things, and it is worth watching your own ballot in November rather than hearing about it afterwards. So, the order, and there is a real reason for it. Start with property tax, and start this week. It is the only one of the 5 with a hard annual deadline, and in most counties it is not backdated. Miss the window, and you do not get that year back. Every other item on this list can be picked up whenever you get to it. Second, the state Social Security question, because it changes what you put on a return, and returns come round every spring. Third, the federal filing threshold, which you check once and then simply no. Fourth, the Part D ceiling, which you do not file for at all. It applies inside your plan. What you do need to check is that you are actually in a Part D plan, because the ceiling cannot protect somebody who is not enrolled. And fifth, the Parks Pass, which is the smallest amount of money on this list and takes about 10 minutes. Do it last and then actually use it. If Gene did only the first one this week, he would be roughly $1,000 a year better off for the rest of the time he owns that house. He does not get the 4 years back. Nobody does. That is precisely why the order starts where it starts, and why I would rather you heard this in August than next April. If this was useful, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Somewhere out there tonight is a 70-year-old paying $4,000 a year on a house they own free and clear. 20 feet away is a filing cabinet that should have held a form since the year they turned 65. This channel exists so that person finds out before another year goes by. Here is your one thing to do today. Go and find last year's property tax statement and look for the words senior, homestead, or freeze anywhere on it. If those words are not on that piece of paper, that is your first form, and your county assessor's office is who you call. Every one of these 5 varies by where you live, and some of them by what you earn. Run your own situation, or sit down with a fee-only advisor or your county assessor's office before you change anything you are currently paying. I am not an advisor. I am a man who has read a lot of these letters and watched a lot of good people pay for a bill that was never really theirs.